Hi, Jeanne Robertson. Denis Greene here from Kansas City. It's great to see you at the National Speakers Association conference a couple of weeks ago. My friend Cam Awesome warned me. He said, since this is your first visit to a conference full of professional speakers, be prepared to listen. Well, I enjoyed it a lot. I'm working on our Christmas letter, like I do this time every year. I'd like to share with you the first draft. My daughter has become an entrepreneur this summer. Instead of going to summer camp, she started a summer camp. That was 2 weeks for first grade girls in our backyard, so it totally destroyed our house. I was very proud of her. She made a couple $1,000s. So I asked her what she learned out of the process. She did a brochure, website, marketing, business card, scheduling, recruiting, hiring people, a calendar, accounting. So I said, at the conclusion of all this, what's the life lesson? So she thought for a moment and she said, I guess what I learned out of this is never have children. She's in high school and homecoming is coming up. So she talked to my friend Drew's son, Ethan, about maybe going to homecoming together since they're friends and not romantic. And he said, oh, sure, that's great. Tell her to just call me when you're free later on. We can set it up. And she kind of shook her head slowly and said, no, it would be proper for you to call me. He said, what? My daughter quoted my favorite country western song at the moment. She said, if your phone don't ring tonight, that will be me not calling you. She got me rolling the Easter play this past spring. She came home from practice and said, hey, Dad, the director needs somebody to play the part of Pontius Pilate. They asked, does anybody know someone, kind of an older guy, who could play the part of a crusty bureaucrat who could condemn an innocent man to death? So I raised my hand. I said, I've got your man. She did. She got me the job, and I played the part. At the end, she said, Dad, seemed like you weren't even acting. I had to tell her that's not really a compliment. Now that led to a part in another play. I played the part of a matador in the opera Carmen. And I told my wife beforehand, I said, when you come see me play, it's a little bit awkward. There's an awkward moment where a young woman runs out from the crowd and showers kisses on the matador, so don't get upset, okay? So she came to the play, and afterwards I said, I hope I was not too offensive. She said, no, it's just proof. It's proof that that young lady can really act. Now, my son's doing well in school. He came home this springtime and he was preparing for the Iowa test of basic skills, and he asked me, what could I do to prepare? I said, oh, don't worry about it, John. It's just like an IQ test. You just show up, you take it, you'll do fine. He said, well, how do you know? I said, well, I took it when I was a kid. A long silence. He said, well, what did they call it back then? The Louisiana Purchase test of basic skills? Did they cover hunting or just gathering? Now, like all boys his age, he gets in a little bit of trouble once in a while, a little shenanigans. He saved up his money to buy a large vat of Vaseline. His friend Jacob, and he went to school early one day and put Vaseline on all the doorknobs. April Fool's Day. He got a little bit of trouble. The principal called me and said, he got in trouble for that now. Well, would his response to getting in trouble have included going to a convenience store and getting a subscription card out of a Playboy magazine and putting the school's address on it with my name as the subscriber? So, well, maybe. Would he have run an ad in Craigslist that put my phone number and put the words free baby monkeys, call after midnight, if my dad answers, hang up? Well, not all of life is a bed of roses for him. We went on a vacation of a lifetime to Hawaii this past year. And we went up the mountain, that mountain that has snow on it. We took the road to Hana, past Haleakala, past Ka'anapali. That next day he said, Dad, I had a nightmare last night. I said, really, what? He said, I dreamt we lived in Hawaii, and in school I had to be in a spelling bee. My work is going well. Got a new client in Dodge City. It's a Presbyterian church. I love their motto, getting the hell out of Dodge for the past 100 years. We visited one of those big aquariums with my little sister. The big 20-foot tall glass walls. You see the beautiful fish swimming in there. We heard a lecture from a marine biologist who concluded her remarks by saying, and by the way, that Jonah and the whale story, that's completely false. That could never have happened. My little daughter raised her hand and said, wait a minute, we studied that in Sunday school. I think there's a lot of true life lessons in there. When I die and go to heaven, I'm going to ask Jonah about that. A marine biologist said, well, what if Jonah's a liar and didn't make it to heaven? So my little girl thought about it for a minute. She said, well, I guess if Jonah died and didn't make it to heaven, well then I guess when you die, you could ask him. Now, good news on the health front. My brief brush with cancer is over. You know, the way we found that, my daughter was doing a cartwheel in the living room. I walked through the dining room. Her foot hit me 120 miles an hour in the gut. I go to the doctor for a scan. He said she didn't break anything, but we found a tumor. You have cancer. So it was a year later, surgery, radiation, all that, before the doctor gives me the all clear and says, this is the first time I've ever seen the hand of God save a guy's life through a kick in the gut. Right about that time when I got the all clear, my daughter and I were out in the backyard fixing the swing set. And I was drilling overhead, didn't have goggles on. I got a splinter in my eye. Had to drop the drill, lay down on the ground, pry my eye open. I said, honey, you're going to have to run upstairs, my bathroom, second drawer, get 2 Q-tips. Run like the wind. You're going to have to get this out. So she runs up, she runs back. I lay down on the ground. She kneels over me. She takes a deep breath and says, time to man up. She goes in and she gets that sliver, pulls it out. She's very proud of herself. We went inside, told my wife, and my wife was just so impressed. She patted her on the arm and said, that's awesome. How do you feel about that? She says, well, that's twice now I've saved his life. Thank you. Bye-bye.